First story, Jaishankar noted that the human rights issue has come up in the past. Addressing a joint press conference after the 2+2 dialogue, Jaishankar noted that the human rights issue has come up in the past. Hitting out at the US over human rights issue in India, External Affairs Minister S Jai Shankar on Wednesday said India was entitled to have views about US views and the interests and the lobbies and the vote bank which drives that. Mr. Blinken also raised the issue of rising human rights abuses in India. He said, "We are regularly engaged with other Indian partners on these shared values in India, including a rise in human rights abuses by some government police and prison officials." The External Affairs Minister was referring to an incident of hate crime against two Sikh men in the US 2 days back, whoever attacked was robbed in a New York neighborhood. Jaishankar responds over Western media. External Affairs S Jai Shankar has also schooled the Western media, which has critical of India's decision to buy limited amount of oil from Russia. Foreign Minister said, "I noticed you raised to oil purchase from Russia, which has been facing several sanctions for launching military operation in Ukraine."
And briefly, what those positions state is that we are against the conflict. We are for dialogue and diplomacy. We are for urgent cessation of violence, and we are prepared to contribute in whatever way to these objectives. I noticed you refer to oil purchases. If you are looking at energy purchases from Russia, I would suggest that your attention should be focused on Europe, which probably we do buy some energy which is necessary for our energy security. But I suspect, looking at the figures, probably our total purchases for the month would be less than what Europe does in an afternoon. So you might want to think about it.
Foreign Minister said, "We do buy some energy, which is required for our energy security, but I suspect looking at the figures, our total purchase for the month will be less than Europe does in an afternoon, so you might want to think about it."
I noticed you refer to oil purchases. If you are looking at energy purchases from Russia, I would suggest that your attention should be focused on Europe, which probably we do buy some energy which is necessary for our energy security. But I suspect, looking at the figures, probably our total purchases for the month would be less than what Europe does in an afternoon. So you might want to think about it.
Gun violence in American culture. Guns are deeply ingrained in American society. In fact, a survey carried out as recently as September 2021 showed that about a third of US adults say they personally own a gun. The gun culture stems from the Second Amendment of the US Constitution. The second reads, "A well-regulated military being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to being armed shall not be infringed." Incident shooting in the American gun violence. According to the data collected by Center for Disease Control for Prevention in 2021, US witnessed a fair share mass shooting or deadliest record in California, San Jose, and Colorado, Boulder. In 2020, around 45,222 people died from gun-related injuries in the US. According to CDC, this includes both murder and suicide. Murder accounted a huge 43% of gun-related deaths. Patrick Lyoya, a 26-year-old Congo refugee who is black, was killed in a Grand Rapids neighborhood during a routine traffic stop after a struggle with an officer over a stun gun. The officer has been not publicly identified.